I would like to mention that we lost 5 minutes. We lost 5 minutes because something was wrong with the phone. I went upstairs, I went here, there, worked, and we got an oilam waiting. Makes it more lebedik, more pressure, more covered. It's all covered, by the way. What's the difference? It doesn't look right, does this, doesn't that, it's all covered. That's Aleph, Beis. We have more schar for our delay. We lost 5 minutes because the phone wasn't. Every person that gave me, am I on? I'm on, no?
You sure?
What's the problem? I'm on, the red thing's on. We got more schar for this than the whole drasha. You got more schar for this than every person that offered his telephone or who wanted to offer his phone is going to get schar like a whole drasha. It's unbelievable. The way we work. Loi machshavaisai, machshavaisaychem, loi dachechem, derachai. The Eibishter works different than we do. We're all, it worked, it didn't work. I know a Yid who worked like to make himself yeshiva. I know more than one Yid. I know many, many, many Rosh Yeshivas and Rabbanim who throughout their lives had the yeshiva that nobody went to. The yeshiva that was, or the shul that didn't really make it. In the world of truth, they're sitting in Olam Haba like nobody's business. They're ahead of everybody. That's good, that's good. You have no idea how the Eibishter Rachmana Liba Boy, when people live in Dimyan, because they don't live with these Yesodis, they have so much unnecessary pain. You shoot him. Now, I don't have the pasuk in front of me. Kasher yasser ish espanoi kein Hashem alikecha miyasrek. The Eibishter gives you Yesudim. And Yesudim, the Mayam lawyers goes to town on that. A guy doesn't get Yesudim in this world because it's reserved for the next world. Then you get it. But there it's terrible. And we get it. Throughout our lives, we get periodic Yesudim that are mechaper all our Averis. You could have, Chazal say, you could have a good life all your days, but you didn't accomplish because your sins are alive and well. Rachmana litzlan. You got Yesudim, you're Gavaldi. 40 days without Yesudim, Kibbutz Olamai. People need Yesudim. You need it like water. You're not going to make it up there without Yesudim. You'll be a mess. You must have Yesudim. Now what's called Yesudim? The man is terrible Yesudim. You can taste whatever you want. But since La Yoda Navaisecha, it's strange, it's different, boom, Yesudim. Nebuch, we had to eat the man. It was delicious like crazy, but it's not what we're used to, Yesudim. The Altam Slobodka brings, if somebody eats paspalta, public bread, so they say pshat you're not sure if they're going to make it. It's not so, it's a joke. What's wrong with eating paspalta? It's not the perfect bread. By the Torah, it's like your life is hanging. The Torah calls the smallest pain in your life like the world's turning over. Be smart. Accept it. Embrace it. And say, Pamoli, I love this stuff. You suit him. No matter what. Say it, and then it disappears. I tied Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon was a yachid. I once heard a shmuz Rabbi Miller. He said different types of people. Some of them, when they spoke about Yisurim, said, Loi hein v'loi scharan. That's not for me. They were Tanoim. When they ask, you want Yisurim? Don't do me no favors. Let me duvshach, let me uktzach. We'll live without that stuff. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon was different. Every night he went to sleep, and he said, there's a lashon. Who remembers the Gemara? Chaviva, Yedidai. What's the lashon? Come, my dear beloved ones. He loved Yesudim. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon loved it. All night long he was suffering. He had pails all around his bed to catch all the blood and all the excretions coming out of his body, all the disgusting things coming out. All night long he suffered. And his wife had to make him, how many pancakes every morning? 60, 100? She was busy because he needed his strength back. By the way, in the morning, you say, okay, get lost. He told Yisurim, I had enough of you guys. I got to learn. All night long, he suffered. And he asked for it. He says, come here, my beloved. He loved them. Now, I'm not telling you where in his madrega, but the fact that a Yid went around all his life saying, come here, my sweeties. I love you to pieces. To Yisurim, physically Yisurim all night long. He suffered. Rabbi Laz, Rabbi Shimon. Then one day his wife found out what he was, because she had to work like a dog. Every morning, in the morning, first of all, he was a gigantic person. He was way, way oversized. Chazal say, it's hard to believe. Him, I think, Rabbi Lazar and Shimua, when they got together, then they could form, they stood facing each other, so they formed a bridge. And when they got together, 2 oxen, a team of oxen could walk underneath, and they still wouldn't touch the underside of these great people. The Gemaras. You haven't seen the Gemara? Rabbi Lazar Shimon was huge. How's that? What's this Gemara all about? But anyway, he ate. When he was a kid, he overate. He ate. In fact, they were watching him eating. And they said, does this guy have a snake in his stomach? That's what they said. He was a kid. And his mother was baking bread. And as soon as his bake, put it in, out, he ate up the whole thing within minutes. Let's tell Ma, I need another one. And mother, okay, well, we'll get that, Loza. And she baked another one. Next. Another one. Next. And he was eating it. He took a whole loaf at a time. And boom, Atana. People didn't. They said, this kid's got a snake in his stomach. And he didn't like it. You know what he did when he heard that? As soon as those people, they left their donkeys with his father. His father, Shimon Chai, was about chesed, he was, can we leave our donkeys here? We're going somewhere. Sure, leave them here. But on the way out, they watched, look at the Rav's son. He's got an appetite. And what's going on? So they made fun of him a little bit, and he didn't like it. When they came back, the donkeys were gone. Hey, where's our donkeys? Well, they asked Rabbi Shimon Chai, we left you our donkeys. You're a tzaddik ador, and it's gone? Come on, you're not a ganaba. What happened? He says, did you say something? He notices his son Elazar looks like he's smirking. I'm not sure what happened exactly. He took one look at us, and he sees, he said, did you say something not nice about our son? About my son? Well, we did. Well, you ever see him fresh? He eats like a hippopotamus. He doesn't know how to stop. And your wife is never overworked. She has one son, and she'd rather have 20 normal ones because he goes nonstop. He eats, So it's terrible. How do you deal with this? So he said, well, you don't do that anymore. Next time you have Mosech, Elazar, give him back the donkeys. He goes up to a they were up in the attic. He goes up a ladder, picks up one donkey, picks up the other one, he goes down, here you donkey. They're like, wow, look at him, he's a monster. He was unbelievable. And he asked for Yisurim. Now, by the way, when he was younger, people said, he ain't gonna make it. This is high at risk. Rabbi Lazar Shimon, this is the number one most at risk you ever met. It's a Shrek. Look at him. He was wild. He was, don't start up with him. And his father, Reb Shimon Chai, was a mechanech. He said, leave him alone. He's going to channel that to Taita. He'll be all right. And when he had to run away from the government, he took along this wild Indian with him. And they sat and learned day and night. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, there's nobody like him. After he was Nifta, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, who's bigger than him? He made the whole Mishnayos, went over to the Amana and said, I'd like to propose, you know, a tzaddikus like you. She said, are you serious? You know who I was married to? You know who he was? My husband? You don't have no shaykhs with him. I don't want to get near you. You know who he was? He's the one that used to press all the bread. So if you see any wild kids in town, there's hope. You see, if you're worried about your son or somebody in your family that's a little bit, there's hope, there's hope. Rav Shimon Yochai was very tolerant with them. You know that? They knew how to be mechanech those days. After he was nifta, we had a son who was never fell into the street, into the lowest of the lowest of the lowest of the low. He was beyond. So I think Rabbi Danasi wanted to rescue him from the gas, the tray for gas. So how do you get him? He's sitting there with a cold over asa. He's going high with Eilam Asa. Terrible things were happening with him. So the Chacham got a hold of him. They said, we're giving you a smicha. It's a Mordechai Gemara. Here's smicha. What? The guy didn't never open the sefer. Smicha? What was his name? Rabbi Yossi? What was his name? They gave him a smicha on the spot. He's sitting in you know where he's sitting. He's sitting in, you ever hear of Manhattan? I don't know if you're allowed to walk there. I don't know. Even if you are allowed to, you definitely have to go to the mikveh 100 times as soon as you come up. 1 block of Manhattan, forget it. You got to do tshuva. He was in such a place, you realize, and that's where he lived. You know, that's what he was all about. Rahman al-Atzlan. He was Yassim, and he wasn't doing well. So they said, we'll fix him up. Chazal, give him smecha. Rabbeinu, imagine the biggest at-risk kid in Lakewood, and the Rosh Yeshivas walk over to him. He has a smicha, yari, yadin, well, a sign. Rabbi Forsheimer is there. Shmuel Meir Katz. Or you want Reb Chaim Kanevsky? We'll have his signature too for you. You got me. You're in. That's what they did. It was over. The rest is history. Became a Gadol B'Yisrael overnight. Now you know how to do it. Build the guy up. Make him feel good. See, they know how to do things those days. The new guys are finding out how to be mechanech kids. See that? It worked. No, isn't that gewaldig? Chaim Teva Melisha Olam Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Shakel Midrash. If anybody notices I'm on a high, and I am, I'll tell you the reason. Because it's Erev Rosh Chodesh Elul. I'm pushing on a high. Now, honestly speaking, I am a frum type by nature. I'm one of those. Or I used to be until they messed me up. You know, in Novandik, they let you have it. If they saw anything that's not quite, they let you have it in public. Anyway. So I became a little bit different. So hello, ice cream, you know, you all know me already. But still, when it's L, it's L. You know, I had different things. I cannot do certain things in L, I just can't do it. L, come on, not L. Okay, all year round, okay, I'm not perfect, but not L. I once spoke to Rabbi Miller about L, what to work on. I believe he told me 4 things. He said, no Lashon Hara, no Kas, and 2 more things. That's L. I spoke to Reb Nosson once about L. I remember that Shmir Seinayim was by him a big thing for L, Shmir Seinayim. Now, what are we going to do in L these days? How are we going to deal with an L? Now, so I am still hoping to present Elul. Somebody called me a liberal. Somebody called me a liberal. Did you hear that? Only one. I haven't heard it before or after. What did I do that made me liberal? You know, by Paraduma, you're supposed to take the You do hazoyas. You know what hazoya is? You do that only in Kodesh HaKadoshim. Hazoya? A zurika, you do on the Mizbech HaChitzayin. But hazoya means you dip your finger in here and you send it flying. It lands on the Kodesh, on the Pareiches, on the Mizbech, on the Aron Kodesh. Hazoyas, like, that's the biggest thing they ever did in the Beis HaMikdash. Hazoya means you throw blood with your finger. That's like, you know, Zayrik, spritz it with a mizrak, with a cup. No. You send it like this. That's big time. Kodesh HaKadoshim type of avodah. And suddenly, they take them all the way out by Paraduma, outside of the Beis HaMikdash completely. You even past the Azazdoshim, past Arabayas, on Haramishch over there, a mile away. And here you're going to do Hazoya. What's up, shot? So I kind of like this. As long as you're aiming in that direction, you're so far away. That's all we want. Now look, you had to take 8 Eres V'yezer. You had to take Eres Zokta Sepharnai, and he's not the only one who says it. Eres, you got to be, if you're a field like you're a 0, you got to follow Mendel and call yourself an Eres. And if you're by nature an Eres, you got to make yourself an Azev, and nobody. That's Avodas Hashem. Work on your midas, each person to his own. Now, why is it wrapped around with Shani Solos, with a red string? Red symbolizes sin. How'd you get in here? Dafka Richard, what's up, shot? It's Saka Kasha. So I said like this, you know why it's Shani Solos? I'll tell you why. Because even if you're chait, that means chait, even if you did it all wrong, you're a gaiva when you're not supposed to. You're another psula and gaiva psula, and you messed it up, but you're trying, you're aiming. You want to do the right thing, and you messed up, it's fine. That's my vod. I hold it to Gavaldi Avad. Someone says, Mendel, you're liberal for saying a vod like that. You're doing everything. By the way, I heard this aside from one of my rabbeim. Even if you're doing everything all wrong, the Eibush will help you. Don't look for trouble. Don't look to do everything crazy. But if you happen not to do things right, and you're trying, it's great. So the Yesod is emes. Forget about it. But still, the guy called me liberal. I says, I might be liberal, but it's not easy to do that. Right? You know how much you gotta work on yourself, to forgive yourself when you did something wrong, and still hold it's okay. And don't do it again. But it's hard work to be liberal. Think it's easy to be a liberal. He's a liberal. You have to much yourself. It's so hard, especially a frum type like me. I feel guilty. What did I do? I shouldn't have said this. You got to work like I'm a sugar. In fact, I tell guys, it's hard to work. It's hard work. You know how many people who call me up, I say, Rabbi Mendel, I work so hard on Bטחון. I say, stop working. I'll might see you. You know, my favorite line is, you have to believe in the Rebbe that the Meiva should work, not by me. I believe so much in myself, I'll be might you with that stuff. I have the Amunas Chachamim. You could look at me like I'm nobody. I mean, I'll be might you because I believe in myself over time. Anyway. Chaim Tov Shalom, it's Elo, but listen to what happened. I was on the telephone today. I had him on the first Mina Shemaim. I got him. You don't know Hashgacha Pratis. I once had a shaila. What to name? Names, kibudim, I had a shaila with one of those. So by mistake, I dialed somebody who's one of my type of chaver who works on Midas. And he said, oh, by us, we give everything to the other side. In his family, not one kid is named after his own family. Not one. And he couldn't care less. That's a good chinuch. You don't like that. How could you do that? You have to be nice to so-and-so. And then you got it, keep it. Rabbi Miller was like that. You know that? You know he was like that. Oh, Sandakais, it's yours.
You know, he told my father, my grandmother wanted to walk down together with my father.
Yeah.
He said, you keep all the names. You can name, you can take all the names from your side. As long as I walk down the Father.
You're kidding. See, he didn't like Father, Mother. He wasn't a real Litvak. He had a Chassidish history. But you hear that? You hear that? Keep all the names. You know what it means in a family? What about the Zayda and the Baba? And they want their names and such as close. You got to fight for the Zayda. And what Rabbi Miller said? You got all the names. I heard the same thing from one of my Nobhardok Rabbim. Same thing. You can have them all. You know how much, having Shalom Rapam once said a thing like, he was very makbid to dafka let the other guy have his way. You know about that. You hear that? Come inside, Rabbi Sai. Come inside. Anyway, I called up this person by mistake. I saw his number, I called him up. He's a Chassidish Rebbe. He's an Adam Gadol V'Neira. He is my favorite by far. Whatever, I love him. They say about him, he doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, he has Ruach HaKodesh Tol Shemayim. He's a Rees, he's my type. And so, boom. Now, I says, I want to do something about Elul. Honestly speaking, I do want to educate the Elul. I do look at myself as being, he's trying to make life easy for everybody, That's me. So Elul, you got to be serious, And you have to understand, I am somewhat serious. I still have a couple of serious bones left. And I still try to do tshuva and whatever. So I'm thinking of this, thinking of that. And I called him up. What should I do for Elul? He screamed at me. Elul, tanzen and singen. Don't you dare do anything. Elul, it's not for us, the whole business. Say goodbye. He screamed at me. Now, I also feel like that, but he did a job. Like, just in case I had any havaminas of So I am nervous with it. Come inside. Come inside, Rabbi. Kim Tzaran. I'm nervous. You're not nervous? I don't know. It's an Indian to be nervous.
And then
Nobhardok, Elul. They know how to be nervous and be happy. They were very good at that. Okay, anyway. So I want to make it clear. Elul, do tshuva and be more chill than ever. And stop kvetching and worrying. Reb Gershel Lieberman said, Elul, do tshuva on one thing, b'tachon. Come inside, let's go. 1 second, Torah anytime. Do you know how many people just walked in? You don't even know. Come inside, come inside. Let's go. Let's go. No, we're going to move the table back. We had to take out 2 leaves from the table, you realize. If you notice, the table just shrunk because there are so many people coming to see Mendel that it's not shaykh. Oh boy. I lost weight for the occasion. Push me back a little more. I'm going to tell you my son. Now, having b'tachon is my tshuva. More b'tachon and more b'tachon and more b'tachon. Reb Gershel Lieberman, an eyewitness, heard it in front of 200 people. Our day and age, the tshuva is more only b'tachon. That's the whole level. And it's a hard job to chill out. Relax, b'tachon, more, it's not enough. And I want to add, and more self-esteem. I'm doing tshuva. What?
Tshuva or stam b'tachon?
Tachon, do tshuva for not being as relaxed as you could have been. Or not worrying so much about not being relaxed. And appreciate being relaxed. See, Rav Lazar Rishim said, I love Yisurim. And the next day he told the Yisurim, get lost. They all disappeared. So I want to tell you, it's a remez. Whoever's makabel Yisurim, they disappear. They do, by the way. Someone just called me up, Mendel, I did your eitzah. I'm a nervous wreck. And as soon as I got nervous, you said, tell the panic mode. As soon as panic mode gets at you, say, panic, I love you. Keep it up. Say it. All but say b'peh. As soon as I said it, my panic mode disappeared. The makabel Yisurim, it disappears. Come inside, Rabbi say. There's room. Mishtachim l'brachim. We're getting there. Chayim, Tevim, L'Shalom. Everybody should have Yeshua's Gemuras. Shedduchim. B'tachon. This year we're getting. I want to give the Rebbe a bracha of more b'tachon. Listen. More in all areas. Klal, Ruchni is the Gashib. I want all my Hasidim this year. You're all becoming Rebbes. Guess what happened? A guy came over to me. This just happened 2 days ago. Guy comes over to me, tells me, Mendel, my wife was giving birth. It was Shreklach, hours of Gehenna until I got a bracha from you. And boom, a chicken with an egg, just like you said. So I was so happy. Here I go again. But then he told me, so he went to all the guys in his yeshiva, and they all said the same bracha, chicken egg, chicken egg. And I heard the baby popped out, the baby flew. Don't get too many people on the case. It's really going to work. Imagine. I heard it was not Shire. Anyway, listen to this.
What's the chicken egg thing? I think
When a mother should give birth like a chicken lays an egg. No problems. Come inside or by side. Now listen to this. I heard a Maisa today. Rabbi said, you don't know how much fun it is to be close to Hashem. You can't imagine. Anila Daidi Vidaidi. Rav Dan Segel spends a whole Elul. Anila Daidi Vidaidi. You love the boss. It's a lot of fun, Elul. Stay alone with the boss. I like to be alone a little bit with the boss. Is he good? And it's such a different life. I don't worry about nothing. I'm busy not worrying. Stop worrying about the boss will take care. Ruchnius, Gashmius. I'm having surgery in Isamai. I don't want to say too much because I already revealed myself over time. I was Megala myself. Someone came over to me once by the mikvah. I was giving out my bטחון. Oh, Mendel, the Welt saying you're one of the 36 tzaddikim nistarim. I says, baloney, I'm not a nister. I'm a gully. Everybody knows I'm a tzaddik. But you call me a nister? I'm a gully. That's official. Don't call me no nister, Mises. I'm not into that. I'm more easygoing. Be a tzaddik golui. I'm a new mahalach. Be a tzaddik golui. But I'm telling you, all my Hasidim are becoming Rebbes. At 2 times, a guy got up in the middle of my vad to say, Mendel, I also gave a bracha chicken with an egg, and the guy thanks me till Shamayim. I'm a new Rebbe. I'm a competition. I said, you're not competition. Anyway, so now listen to this. Rabbi Yonasan Steif, I heard this, in Auschwitz. There was my mother-in-law was in Auschwitz, and she was a young teenager, and she had something, a makkah, on her face. I think it was swollen, like looked terrible. And Mengele, Yamach Shemai, Dr. Joseph Mengele, clean-shaven, neat, such a gentleman. Yamach Shemai. Oh yes, certainly. You can go here. That's why. Don't be impressed with the way it looks. If you don't look so happy, or you don't look like the biggest tzaddik, biggest lamdan. Looks don't mean nothing. Your beard doesn't grow too well. If your beard doesn't grow too well, take a look at Bin Laden. He had a gorgeous beard. Take a look at Khomeini. You ever see, there's a picture of him coming down by a plane, and he's standing there with his turban, but another guy robes. They look like Hashiv. They look like Canarik, and we went to the old cities, that's all he said. These guys look like Rebbes. These guys are great. Look at the Hazes Ponim. So now you know what Chas v'Shalom. A Yid is allowed to have a nice, there's nothing wrong with that, but don't get too carried away with the way things look. So the Nazis gave such a beautiful impression. And he himself, the Rosh Marusha in Auschwitz, was so cool and so polite with such a, he was, oh, you can go here. They were sending the guy to be roasted like Hashem Yerachim. And you go there, and you'll go there. His finger meant Chaim Mavis, Chaim Mavis. If you looked a drop sick, it was done. Go, you're dead. Alive means you're tortured you got to work like a Meshuggah. Anyway, she had something, a swelling over there, big time. And some crazy reason, he sent her to life. Anyway, And there was a Rav there in Auschwitz who told all the girls, no, everybody's allowed to eat. Eat that horse meat they gave them. They gave them tray for stuff. You're allowed to eat, he told them. Because they didn't want to eat. And my shviga still didn't eat. Not push it. Holy lady, Elena Tzadekis, she didn't eat the tray for meat. She said, I can't do it. That's a Hungarian lady. I just can't, I couldn't do it. Tray, I just can't do it. She was starving to death. She was exactly a stick. Kapute. She was holding otot. I just can't eat that stuff. Man, that's what, Anyway, so here comes in Auschwitz. Rabbi Steiv was there with his wife. He has a daughter. She's at May of Esrim 101. You want to visit her? You want to see her tzaddik his daughter? She was a 12-year-old girl in Auschwitz. Rabbi Steiv's daughter. Rabbi Steiv was for the biggest guns in Klal Yisrael. He wasn't shaykh. I shouldn't talk like that. A gain. There's a picture of him and Rabbi Cutler killing each other and learning. He was for the biggest Rabbi Steib. He was the Rav in Budapest. And so he told, so now his daughter comes over to him.
Is he buried in Woodbridge?
He is in Woodbridge. You were there. You were there. Next to Rabbi Yaakov Hornstein, Mechoba Weissmandel, that oilam. And Yonason Steif. He was from the biggest of the biggest. And he's there with his wife, and his 12-year-old daughter said, I had enough. I give up. You can't imagine the Gehenna, what Auschwitz was. You can't begin to explain it. People getting burned constantly. I don't want to talk about it. It was schrecklich. It was, and she had enough. And I'm ready to die. We had enough. It's over. He jumped up. He says, don't you dare talk like that. I want you to start saying everything's fine. We're getting out of it. It was impossible. The barbed wire with dogs. No one got out of that place. No one escaped Auschwitz. Not happening. And if you made a habami, if they thought you were trying to escape, what they did to you, they hung you. It's Hashem Yerachem. And he said, you're going to start saying, I'm getting out of this place alive. And I want you to keep saying it. And everything's going to be just fine. All day long you're saying it. And it was Friday when he said this. And he said, in 1 week, Friday, you're leaving. It's done. Friday, a week later, Reb Mechoba Weissmandel was involved, Zecher Tzadik Avracha. He was involved in the rescue business. And he gave money to Mengele, or whoever's over, the higher-ups over there. He got money. He say, no, with Geld. You know what they say in Novandig, Atavachatonu, Geld. Mikola Amim, Geld. Aftaisanu, Geld. Ratzisabanu, Geld. Let's face reality. The Welt said, the Welt is a mushal, the Nimshal is Geld. Geld. You have money, these Rishayim. Yeah, what did he say? That's what he said. So he gave money. He was giving big bucks, and he said, look, I gave you already money. If I don't see anything happening at all, no more money. The Nazis' money's money. So I want to say at least some who haven't seen nothing's happening. You guys are just laughing in my face. You know that he was a Novandig. Reb Mechoba Weissmandel went into the office of one of the biggest SS Yamach Sheminiks, and he screamed at him, you Russia. You know that? He wasn't pashut. He wasn't scared of anybody. He was a tzaddik. I remember him. And so he went over to so he said, I want to see at least some action. So they said, okay, we're going to have to free 300 people and put them on a train and get them out of here, or else this guy, we won't get no money. one of the 300 people that Friday was the 12-year-old daughter, who's 101 right now. You want to visit her? Together, the Rabbi and Shteif and his wife. Because she said, day and night, we're getting out, we're getting out, we're getting out, we're getting out. I don't know how his father knew it was going to be on Friday. Listen to this, I'm going to tell you another mice. What?
Where is she now? Where is she living?
I don't know, she's around. I think she's in Malikud, I'm not sure. I just spoke to somebody who I believe visited her. What? What's that? She's in Malikud. Everybody ends up in Malikud. Come inside. Everybody. And when they're in Malikud, they usually end up here. They end up at my vad. Come inside. No, Rabbi side. 1 second. Push, let's go. Let's go. What would you say? My Gabbai Shlishi. 8,000 already? Wow. Okay. You got me? Am I supposed to start talking? I got time. Anyway, I'm going to tell you another story. Hafla, Holocaust story you never heard. You know what? Here's perspectives, Rabbi say. Have you ever heard of Rabbi Golombek? Have you ever heard of him? He's right here. You can see him. Take a picture. I'm joking. I don't mean that. But I hope they should. Take. It's good stuff. Lachreit. Have you ever heard of Lachreit? Great stuff. These are my chevra. They're steiging away. Take. The Spring Hill Times. The Elam wants. I overheard. They were talking about it in Kel Shimshon in the hallway. The machloikis. What bracha you make on it? But everyone was masking Birkas Hanenin. The shaila is what bracha. Want to make chalta b'savata? You read this? You know what they write over here? That good news. The oil prices went down. That's what they write about. Not though and this soda, that soda. You know what else they write about? What was the other thing I noticed? Another thing that no one writes about. Ooh, they say anti-Semitism is not as bad as it used to be. They don't say that in newspapers. You're supposed to say it's bad, then people want to read it. They're funny. You know, where'd they get that chinuch from? Mandazach, no? Say things are good. And they're smart. They color it. They have such gorgeous pictures that everybody wants to read it. Anyway, and there's Rabbi Golombek over there, beautiful stuff he writes. I read your stories, the one better than the other. He has stories. So what happened? In the Holocaust, and there was a bunker in Kovna. And in that bunker, there were 36 people. Now, you better watch it. The Nazis they were losing the war. The Russians were coming at them quickly. It was done, but they didn't care. They didn't want to leave one Jew alive. They went out of their way to kill them out before the Russians come. And all the guys in bunkers, and they heard shouts from on top of the bunker. Raus! Raus! We caught you, send the dogs! They hear screams and yells, and they hear in blood, Shreklach. What went on there? You didn't try to hide from them, Yimach Shema. And they're in a bunker, 36 Yidden. And in order to make sure that they're not seen, they had to seal off. If the slightest, you want to get a little event, a little something, some air, don't you dare, because they'll detect it. They were on the case like no one's business. They were very good at it. They're very thorough, the Yimach Shema. So they had a lock. The place was roasting at least 110 degrees. People were breathing fire. It was Gehenna for days, another day. People were fainting. People were mamish like faint. They had terrible sores all over their bodies with diseases, and people were weak and full of pain. And they were laying like this, screaming, please somebody kill me. The pain that went on there, physical pain, the heat, and the whole pachat. Suddenly, they detected a German standing right on top of them. As soon as that happened, everybody lay still. Don't you dare breathe. For 4 hours, they didn't budge, nothing. In those 4 hours, the guy who tells over the story, you better not make a... Nobody fainted. Nobody had pain from the sores. Nobody, there was diseases, nobody said, I want to die. Because they couldn't afford to fetch. There was too much. But they didn't, if you're fainting, it's a physical thing. How come nobody fainted? They were fainting nonstop. Everyone was always fainting. As soon as those 4 hours, nobody fainted. Mosech. Nobody was in pain, nobody complained, nothing. Because they couldn't afford that. You want to hear they all got out, Baruch Hashem. You want to know a big yisoid? Whenever you're sick, it's because you can afford to be sick. If you can't afford to be sick, you're not sick. You don't know how much the mind is in charge of everything you're doing. How many people I brainwash, you are not sick. Cut it out. I do it every time. It's not normal. I told you about the lung, the yana machlin, the lungs. I told you about it. I told you, it just happened. One story after another. I keep getting calls. Every bracha I give, I brainwash everybody. You're well. Don't bother me, and they believe me. Okay. Anyway, what time is it? I got to start. Let's. Where am I going? Okay, I'm dealing with a bach who is struggling with the Yetzer Hara. He's fighting and he's worried about bad things Chazal say will happen. I tell him he's trying, and that's what counts. He agrees, but he says in the end of the day, he's worried about the punishments Chazal say someone that gets, and he's constantly doing those affairs. Is he right? Listen to me. The Stipler said, you want to see it? That the Musas Forum are too negative. That's enough. The Stipler is the most positive. He says, what about the slightest improvement? And it's look, to say you're not going to get punished, the Alter Rebbe, Shnei Zalman, first Lubavitcher Rebbe, said that if somebody thinks of doing tshuva in this day and age, we're going back 150 years ago, when did he live? It's what? 200? He said if somebody thinks of doing tshuva, he didn't do no tshuva, and it bothers him, for us, it's called a tshuva shalema. Did you hear what he said? You know what the Stipler said? For every inch, it's a different door. And I was machavan to this, because he brought a whole riot that, there's a whole Gemara where one of the Tanaim, Rabbi Loz, I think it was, on Shabbos, he wasn't meichel someone else doing, it's your aveira. He didn't do nothing, you weren't meichel yet, it's your aveira. So you see, everybody's judge can feed a door. So he works the other way too, can feed a door, this door. There's a famous Chassidus Shabbat, they say, that Moshe Rabbeinu, Ish Moshe Anamoid, Kol Adam Asher Al Pnei Adama. He said, he saw our door. And he said, that made him an Anav. So it's compared to you, Kol Adam Asher Pnei, it means the later Dairis, to do what they go through living in American Tumah, and you're still struggling with these things, I don't see how they do it. That's giving me another. They'll say this, it's great, no? It's a great vote, Rabbi say. Listen to those Vetlach, and don't you dare get a hold of those hot Musas for him. It's no good. Now I'm going to tell you a Netziv. This week's Parsha, Mo Hashem, there's a Netziv, you can't forget it. Mo Hashem Shalom B'chol Kim Yiroi Yisai. Zok the Netziv, there are 4 types of Jews. The Gdolei Torah, the Stamaben, the leaders, the Haskonim, the Bali Chesed, the ladies and the kids. Each one has a different avodah. And each one, you do yours, you do yours. If you want to do someone else's avodah, it's kamat and isur. It's not for you. Don't learn Musas Forum that put you down. That get away from it. Don't touch it, my shver. Someone in the mishpacha was reading, I don't want to say certain hot type of stuff. My shver told me. He had to send a special shliach, keep away a certain group of people that like to scare you. He get him away from that stuff. Baruch Hashem, he saved his life. Don't read that stuff. Sit and learn and enjoy life. Take a Pepsi, with a tashvis and a joy. That's tshuva on Yom Kippur. Ashkiach, Nelson said that. You know what Baron Kreiser said? And he said another, but it's murder gavod. I was mechavan to him. Baron Kreiser said there was a machlokes in the Beis Medrash. There were two big guns in the Altamir. Rabbi Yonah Karpelov, you ever heard of Yonah Minsky? He didn't make it through the war. He was the only mirror, Kamat, that the Nazis got him. All the rest escaped. But he was the number one. He learned by the Brisker. Him and Rabbi Malin were the two biggest. So there was an argument, who's bigger? So you know what Rabbi Kreiser said? You're fighting who's bigger? You know what you're like? You're like a teller that counts other people's money. And they get the minimum wage because they're not worth anything. You're nobody. You're busy counting other people's money. Look at yourself. You know who you are? You have to be machshiv yourself. Don't get involved in other people. It's a big yesod. So he says, Kamat and Isur, the guy that just got see the Kedushin. What do you have with him? I'm doing so well with my B'tachon weekly or whatever. I'm doing so well with my Alipay, with my remedial reading. I'm doing so well trying to get angry only 5 times a day instead of 50. And so far it's not bad. Yesterday I only got angry, it's my wife, only 20 times yesterday. I'm steigen. I like what I am. Don't bother me without him. But look at him. He never gets. You do yours, I do mine. You know what I learned on Elul? On Elul, I take out all the Purim jokes and I chazer them. You want to read other stuff? I do my thing. That makes me happy. Go through all the Purim jokes. I go through all the compliments that parents wrote me, you know. I chazer them again and again. That's my Elul. I want to do tshuva. You didn't appreciate compliments. I start them. Anyway, we go right. What? I want to tell you something. Now, you said a good question. There's an Adam Gadol, a big Mazaka Rab, that my Rebbe, one of my biggest Rabbeim, said he don't touch Shari Tshuva, it gets him depressed. He should not do it. If that does not get you depressed, and it makes you feel good, and it helps you, go for it. What's wrong? I met a bacha. I was sitting, this bacha took me for a ride, but a bacha kid. He says, in my yeshiva, the yeshiva doesn't like Musa. He doesn't like Musa. So, but we do like it. And every night, Seder, the whole yeshiva learns 40 minutes Musa. I says, and what do you learn? I like Reb Chatzkel. Oh. And he looked happy, the kid. He likes Reb Chatzkel. Reb Chatzkel was, you know what Baron Kreiser said about him? Reb Chatzkel's gewein din. He was tough. Chatzkel, and they like it, and he's happy. Look, if it works, do it. But these days, you got to watch out. Okay, next.